Now you'll notice all the extra play that does not actuate the throttle at all. That's what we're going to be solving. Heat cycles don't treat zip ties well. Moving the cotter pin, pull that off there, simple as that. Now of course every throttle cable that you're going to buy is going to be different. However, on this model, they provide you with a little set screw and a proper Allen wrench to disassemble that, and what it'll do is it'll loosen the tension on the cable on the inside, and it'll just pull right off. Now, try not to undo that set screw all the way, or you may lose it. Okay, we are back underneath, back inside the car, and as you can see, this is where the cable comes in through the firewall. Now, Mopar's, the sleeve in the engine bay just simply rests in here and is pressure fit. So, at this point, you can just pull this cable right out, since it has been disconnected from the top and there's no linkage preventing it from being pulled through the sheathing. Now you'll notice that I have a nut on the end of this stop right here, and that's because my pedal has been worn and bent in so many times that this little stop here is just barely big enough. So for a little safety measure, I just slipped a little nut on there, and that's managed to save my ass a few times. I would buy a new one of these, but if you've ever tried to find hard to find parts for a 67 B-body, you know they are ridiculously expensive. So I'm going to just go ahead and pull this all the way out, just like that, and we are ready for final disassembly. Final disassembly. Well, that was easy. Alright. Now we've got our throttle cable inserted, our universal throttle cable inserted through the hole in the firewall. Now this thing requires a nut to secure it in there. Yeah, I got a 47-year-old car. My motor mounts and transmission mounts are shot. Look for a video to come. And my motor moves a lot. It is a very healthy motor, just absolutely dead motor mounts. So, yeah, my motor moves around a lot, so I'm going to need a little bit of play in that throttle cable, so I am not going to install said nut. However, you may want to, probably a good idea, and once I get my motor mounts and transmission mounts sorted, then we will proceed with said nut on said threaded end. So as you can see, we have it installed, and for sake of mock-up, I have put that nut on there, and I have cinched it down all the way so that it will hold it in the proper line. What I'll do is I'll just incorporate a little bit of give somewhere in here to try and compensate for the amount that the motor is going to move. I think I'm still going to have a problem because of the tightness or the length of the throttle cable. I'm going to have to shorten that so that it will in fact throw all the way. So I think that's going to provide me with more of a problem. Not really sure what I'm going to do, but right now we're just going to mock it up, something like that. And I think I want it to end right about here. So we're going to mark that, pull it out, and get cutting. Right about here-ish. So, what I've done is I have taken the supplied plastic tip and I've inserted it in between the steel braiding and the actual throttle cable shield. And then, you know, I'm poor, what am I going to do? I got some electrical tape and did about 8 wraps, and I just went down and then back up, you know, just, what else am I supposed to do? Broke ass mofo. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to test fit this right in there. And look at that. I'd say that's right about where we want her. Now, I want a good angle from here to here, and that's what I've got there. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but I've got to run it under this, which actually actuates, but it only pulls itself away from the throttle cable. So, you know, I'm kind of okay there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zip tie it up onto this throttle bracket here and hope that that's the proper angle, kind of fine tune it. Look at that, it'll move a little bit backward and forward, just give just enough to allow for those bad motor mounts. And that's exactly what we want to do with this system here. Why it needs to be redneck engineered is because I'm dealing with broken stuff and trying to make it work. Daily driver BS that you need to deal with on a 47-year-old daily driver. So once again, because of the way that this is sitting, I think the name of the game is going to be I'm going to have to go with that nut in the hope that, you know, my motor mounts don't move as much and that the majority of that problem, you know, with the sticking throttle was due to the odd way that the cable was routed. And I hope that, you know, this being straight will take care of that. There's only one way to find out. I'll be sure to wear my crash helmet. Yes, I'm gonna have to run it to the ground. If I can work a little bit of slack in it, I will. I'm not necessarily sure that I'm gonna be able to do that though. So now, got this cable here. You can see where the set screw is set in there. Thread it, just like sewing. Your mom taught you to sew, didn't she? A little bit of resistance at that cap. Just kind of prod and push. You'll get her in there one way or another. See, now this is a sign of doing what you gotta do to get her done. I don't have any vice grips or clamps of any type to clamp anything to anything under here. So what I had to do is I had to get a brick and shove it up under there so that the armature stays at quote-unquote dead stop, no throttle at all. That way I can pull that cable tight and get a true measure of where my throttle cable actually needs to be and how long it needs to be to actuate the throttle all the way. So, we've got our throttle cable. That's as far as she's coming. So that should be at a dead nut idle. And you'll see that 3/4 of an inch that of play that we had in the throttle, the actuation of the throttle, that can be seen all right here. That length from where the set screw used to be to where it needs to be now. Now when it gets fully actuated, it would stop right here because that's where the old sheathing started. This new sheathing will allow it to actually achieve a full throttle, wide open throttle situation. So we now have the throttle cable end attached, and you know, you should be able to pull on it pretty well, damn well tight. Otherwise it may come off, and trust me, you don't want this motherfucker coming off. So I'm gonna see how this fits on there. Look at that, it doesn't fit at all. Now, if all goes according to plan, you should take this brick out. Throttle. Look at that. A lot more throttle movement. Yes, son. Bad man is in business.